Have you ever wondered if the divisions we see in society run deeper than we maybe realize, like hidden currents shaping our lives in ways we don't fully perceive?
Mm.
Welcome to our analysis. We're trying something a bit different here, a bold new take on book coverage with this extended analysis. It's more than just a summary, though we do include that too. This really digs into how the author shapes their argument, how they build influence, and, earn or maybe lose your trust. The idea is to give you tools to read with sharper insight, greater discernment. Should you read this book? Well, this should definitely help. And it's also, I think, excellent for aspiring writers. If you find this expanded format valuable, please let us know. Your feedback really helps guide what we do next. Also, you are experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's NotebookLM, which we hope allows for deeper, more dynamic book analysis. Today, we're diving into Isabel Wilkerson's really profound work, Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents.
That's right. And it came out in 2020, right in the middle of all those heightened debates about race and systemic injustice. But this book, it doesn't just talk about racism
Yeah.
in the way we usually hear it. Wilkerson makes this really powerful case that American racial inequity, it's actually better understood if you look at it through the lens of a deeply entrenched caste system.
A caste system.
Yeah, she argues it's like this invisible architecture,
Yeah.
quietly underpinning the social divisions here in the United States. And she says it absolutely demands a broader national reckoning.
It really is a thought-provoking shift, isn't it? It challenges you to look at our history and our present in a fundamentally different way.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating right from the start is how Wilkerson establishes her authority. That's crucial, like, the ethos. She's a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. That background alone, it just immediately lends significant credibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's rooted in her reputation for, historical rigor and really strong narrative skill.
Mm.
When an author like her tackles something this big, it commands respect.
Right. And it's not just the Pulitzer, is it? I mean, for a topic this sensitive, her credibility is everything. She brings this powerful combination to the table. You've got the extensive research, the meticulous citations she shows her work, but just as importantly, her own lived experiences of discrimination.
Yes.
And these personal insights, they aren't just side stories. They feel like a cornerstone of her authority. It gives her the standing to tackle such a contentious and often painful concept.
Exactly. She's not just speaking from some academic ivory tower. It's from a place of profound understanding, both scholarly and personal.
Mm-hmm. That really comes through.
Precisely. Her work isn't merely academic, it's deeply personal,
Yeah.
and that allows it to resonate on, multiple levels.
Mm.
She defines caste as this artificial hierarchy that enforces fixed value based on arbitrary traits, like race. And this isn't a simple definition, it's really the bedrock of her entire argument. It pushes us beyond just superficial distinctions to a deeper structural reality.
And this is where it got really interesting for me. She carefully distinguishes between race and caste. It's not like she's just swapping words. She's showing how they interact, right? She juxtaposes them to show that caste is actually operating beneath the surface, that it shapes the very visible forms race takes in society.
Mm-hmm.
It's like understanding the skeleton beneath the skin, or maybe the blueprint behind a building's facade. It makes you ask, if we only focus on race, are we missing the underlying architecture?
That's a crucial point. And if caste is this hidden structure, how do we even begin to think about it in a way that really sinks in? Wilkerson uses this brilliant central metaphor. She frames America as an old house, an old house that desperately needs repair.
Ah, the old house.
That imagery, it just makes historical injustices tangible. It turns these abstract social structures into something concrete, something you can almost feel. And it highlights our collective responsibility, to confront and mend these inherited injustices.
Mm-hmm. What makes that metaphor so powerful, I think, is that it suggests the flaws are structural. They're not just cosmetic, right? It requires deep foundational work.
Precisely. It's not just painting over cracks.
I love that old Hank the metaphor. It really moves us past seeing just individual acts of prejudice to understanding the system that lets them persist. It's not just cleaning up dust, it's inspecting the joists and the foundations. And she doesn't stop there. She meticulously outlines what she calls the 8 pillars of caste. This systematic analysis. This is where her logos, her logical appeal really shines. It offers this rigorous framework.
Indeed, she engages readers logically, challenges those ingrained assumptions by drawing these powerful transnational parallels. She doesn't just say America has a caste system, she builds this, almost undeniable case by showing its universal grammar.
Universal grammar.
Okay, yeah. For example, she identifies pillars like Hereditary hierarchy, your status is set by birth, immutable traits, there's dehumanization, stripping groups of their inherent worth, and rules of purity and pollution dictating who can interact with whom. Another key one is endogamy and the control of marriage, which maintains those rigid boundaries between castes.
So she's saying these pillars aren't unique to just one society. They're like foundational elements of any caste system. That's a huge connection to make.
It is.
Could you maybe elaborate on how she uses specific historical parallels? Because that's where her argument gets incredibly compelling and sometimes, frankly, unsettling.
Absolutely. Her detailed, historically constructed comparisons are really central to her logical argument. We're talking the U.S. Jim Crow South, India's traditional caste system, and Nazi Germany's persecution of Jews. And these aren't just casual analogies. They're meticulously researched, backed by extensive historical detail. So take the pillar of rules of purity and pollution. In the U.S., under Jim Crow, you had laws enforcing strict segregation. Separate water fountains, restrooms, everything.
Right, of course.
That mirrors how the Indian caste system dictates interactions to avoid, quote, pollution of higher castes by lower ones. Similarly, the Nuremberg laws in Nazi Germany. They prohibited marriage and sex between Jews and Germans. That's a vivid example of the endogamy and control of marriage pillar. It defined who was pure enough to procreate with whom, preserving this fabricated racial purity.
Wow. Yeah, that's where the discomfort really kicks in, I think, for a lot of readers. She's not saying these systems are identical in every single detail.
No, not at all.
But that their function, the mechanisms they use to maintain hierarchy, are strikingly similar
Good.
across totally different cultures and times.
Exactly.
It forces you to look at American history through this new, sometimes uncomfortable, but definitely illuminating lens. It's a powerful testament to her logical rigor and her willingness to confront uncomfortable truths.
It truly is. But it's not all just dry historical analysis. Wilkerson is also a master storyteller. And this is where her pathos, her emotional resonance, really comes through powerfully. She understands that to truly shift someone's understanding, you also have to touch the heart.
And she does that so effectively. Her storytelling balances these big historical episodes with these deeply personal accounts, including her own experiences. This weaving of narrative and analysis, it just ensures maximum resonance. She doesn't just tell you about indignity, she shows it. Often through these everyday moments that just stick with you, It makes the abstract concept of caste feel immediate, relatable.
Yeah, we're talking about powerful anecdotes, like her recounting an air travel confrontation where a flight attendant just assumed she was in the wrong seat.
Right.
Or subtle professional slights that, chip away at your sense of worth over time. These aren't just isolated incidents. They ground the theory in lived experience. They make caste immediate, relatable. They evoke empathy and, yeah, sometimes righteous anger. And that strategy is key, I think, to breaking through potential reader resistance to such a challenging topic. It lets emotional engagement kind of pave the way for intellectual acceptance.
What's also striking is her tone. It's calm, it's authoritative, but it's also deeply empathetic. She's not shouting at you. She's guiding you through this complex understanding with a steady hand.
Yeah, that's well put.
Her language invites both intellectual engagement and a profound emotional response.
Yeah.
It creates this space for reflection, maybe, rather than just defensiveness.
And she really leverages rhetorical devices to cement her points. We already talked about the old house metaphor, fantastic imagery. But she also consistently uses this motif of invisibility. Caste, she says, is like the bones of society. It's there, holding everything up, but you don't always see it.
Right. The unseen framework.
Exactly. And repeating that idea reinforces her central thesis throughout the book. It makes it impossible to ignore once you've been introduced to it.
It's the kind of imagery that, yeah, once you've read it, you can't unsee it. It really infiltrates your thinking. And as you reflect on these structural insights, you might find yourself wanting to expand your own understanding even further. That's actually where Mindful Moments, our YouTube channel, comes in. It offers AI book analysis, summaries, and critiques, all designed to inspire reflection and rational thought.
Good point. Now, thinking about the overall effectiveness of Wilkerson's rhetoric,
It's clear.
she's a master at blending anecdote with that meticulous research. That combination, it builds profound trust with the reader. And it provokes, I think, a deep self-examination. Her logical structure, guided by those 8 pillars and the transnational comparisons, it really does take readers through a paradigm shift in understanding race and hierarchy.
What's particularly skillful, I find, is how she navigates such a potentially polarizing topic. By presenting American racism as part of this deeper, older caste system, she skillfully avoids making it just a simple moral indictment. Instead, she encourages reflection on inherited roles, inherited systems. It becomes less about individual blame and more about collective responsibility for dismantling this entrenched structure.
Right.
She's challenging the framework itself, not just the individual actors within it, and that's a crucial distinction.
It's a very nuanced approach, for sure. And while, yes, some critiques have pointed out that focusing heavily on analogy might risk oversimplification, or maybe equating distinct historical processes a bit too closely. It's important to stress that Wilkerson's overall approach is carefully contextualized. She acknowledges the differences, but she highlights the profound similarities in function and effect. She draws parallels not to diminish uniqueness, but to illuminate these underlying patterns of human behavior in how we construct hierarchies.
So she's not saying the U.S. is exactly like India or Nazi Germany,
No, absolutely not.
but that the mechanisms, dehumanization, purity, hierarchy, they share this chilling commonality.
Precisely. It's about the underlying logic.
And connecting this back to the bigger picture, this analysis really matters for you, the listener. Understanding these rhetorical strategies, how an author builds credibility, ethos, engages logic, logos, evokes emotion, pathos. It gives you the tools to read with sharper insight, with greater discernment. You learn to critically evaluate how authors shape arguments and, influence trust. That's invaluable today.
Exactly. And for any aspiring writers listening, Caste is honestly a masterclass. It demonstrates a sophisticated rhetorical project in action. It shows you how to mobilize ethos, logos, and pathos to create a truly transformative work that educates and moves its audience at the same time. It really is a blueprint for crafting arguments that endure.
In essence, Wilkerson's book offers this compelling argument for recognizing, repairing, and ultimately, hopefully, transcending the enduring caste divisions in American life. It challenges us to look beyond the obvious, to examine the foundations, and to understand that our history isn't just in the past. It lives on in the structures all around us.
Which leaves us with a challenging thought. So if caste truly is the hidden architecture, what responsibility do we each have to examine the foundations of our own old house and participate in its repair?
To delve even deeper into Wilkerson's arguments, you can find our comprehensive summary and other related deep dives. Just click the link on screen for the in-depth book summary. Subscribe, share, purchase via the link, and think rationally.
And see the many genre-based book podcasts at Mindful Moments. Subscribe and nourish your mind on the go.